Very likable guy. I love what he said. You know, I've been playing football since I was 5 years old. You're the quarterback of the New York Giants now. How impressed are you with this guy?
Extremely. He comes into a situation where they're not a great team. They have an awful record. Now, starting to creep their way out of that awful record.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Yes, and for him to just be competent is one thing, let alone be able to lead 2-minute drives to win football games. I mean, Jay, when I look at this guy, I think to myself, third-string quarterbacks that I played with, would I ever see them coming into a game and leading teams like he's doing here? I mean, this throw, I thought he was a bit fortunate, as I said, but the rushes of 71 rush yards, the 2-minute drive at the end of the game, the throw here on the touchdown. My answer would be no. I don't remember ever playing with a third-string guy who could do that. And my point with this is you got to think he's hardly had any practice reps in OTAs and in training camp with the ones. When you go and your first-string offense rolls out there as a team, your first-string quarterback rolls out there.
Right.
Maybe the second string gets a couple reps here and there. The third string usually splits time with the scout team. He's not even the main scout team guy. So for him to come out here in 4 or 5 weeks, assume the starting job like that, and all of a sudden be leading this team to wins, it's incredible.
And we're going to get to their record in a second, but we got to talk about the Packers. You had a great question for me before we did the show. What's the fourth best team in the NFC? And I was like stumped, but I said, well, if you'd asked me last week, I might have said the Packers. Now after this loss, how far have they fallen in your eyes?
Quite a bit. And it just wasn't one thing tonight. And what was kind of disappointing was they had this great story, young quarterback, everything's starting to click. And you kind of see where that young, inexperienced locker room came into play tonight. I mean, they were poor across the board, and I think it started with Jordan Love. He's obviously been incredible the last few weeks, but you look at some of the plays early on here, it was a bit of a struggle. He was a little bit rattled. You know, he missed some throws. And then again, you're playing a team that you should be better than, and you turn the ball over somewhat carelessly. I thought the play calling also was very poor at times. They ran a lot of reverses that didn't seem to work consistently. This interception was bad. It just kind of went from bad to worse, and it was such a stark difference from what we saw against the Chiefs, against the Lions before that. It was hard to fathom that it was that, different.
Well, let's stay here for just a second, Harb. The Packers, here's the only good news, Luke. They're still holding on to that final wild card spot as of this moment, right? Despite the loss. Your Seahawks, part of that group that's locked in at 6 and 7 behind them. And then, as I mentioned, now back on the board, like the Undertaker, rising from the dead, the New York Football Giants are on the board and a game back of a playoff spot.
Absolutely wild. You look at this board, even the Minnesota Vikings coming off a 3-0 win. Every spot is open to me.
Absolutely.
There is not one team that is a lock there. I mean, as you see, all of those teams have had good weeks and really bad weeks, and it'll be fun. And I don't think it'll happen, but you can't count out the Giants.